Hi, I'm Lisa, the artist behind Lachri Fine Art. Today is Tuesday, so once again I will be critiquing one of your original paintings or drawings. If you have an original painting or drawing that you would like to submit for critique, head over to my website at lachri.com/critiques, link below in the video description, and you can submit your work there. Today we are taking a look at this portrait done by artist Emma Deemer. This is a 9x12 done on Bristol vellum with colored pencil and markers. Her goal for this was stylized realism. She said she wanted the features to be slightly exaggerated. So taking a look at your work, Emma, I really like how you've done her hair. You weren't afraid to get the contrast there. You've got some nice detail and it definitely has that stylized feel, so that's really nice. The other thing I really like about this piece is that I can tell you do have drawing skills. So taking a look at adjustments we can make to improve on this piece, the first thing that I'm going to talk about is the actual shading of her herself. Now you had said that you're always afraid to go too dark with the shading of the skin tones, and this is such a normal thing for people to fear, and I know it's really scary to get that high contrast, but that's what's going to make the difference in your work being something that people are drawn to and that they really want to look at versus something that they just kind of glance at and keep on walking. Honestly, the contrast and your lights and your darks and all of that is really a bigger deal than your drawing being accurate. I mean, all of it really works together and you want all of those elements in your piece, but that contrast is the first thing that's going to grab someone's attention. So in this one, I can see where you've started to shade areas of her face. It just feels not finished. So what I would suggest that you do is get a good reference photo. Like for her, being that you're doing a girl with her head turned to the side, it would be very easy to find in a magazine or somewhere online a model whose head is positioned how you want, and something that has good lighting, like really strong contrast between the lights and the darks, and then copy that. And the nice thing is if you go with a magazine or you print out your reference photo, hold it up right next to your artwork and compare the color. Look how much darker that skin tone is. You've left a lot of white, and most people are not going to have almost any white showing in their face. Even me, as pale as I am, there's very little white. Well, I'm kind of washed out with this light, but I mean there would be very little white used that was left flat white. So if you start with a photo, a reference photo that it's easier to see where those shadows should go, that's gonna make your job a lot better. And I don't know if you were working from a reference photo or from memory, so I'm not sure what you were doing there, but either way, get a good photo with good lighting and try to imitate that. In doing that, that brings me to my next step. You've got this dark outline outlining her, and you needed that in this one because you've got her so pale. You want to get your color in her skin tones to be what separates her from the background. It's best if you don't outline your subjects with a heavy dark outline. If you need an outline to separate them from the background, then that kind of tells you that you need more contrast between the skin tones and whatever your background color is. You want to build the separate lines between her skin and the background with the shadows and the lights and the darks, not with an actual outline. Even given that you are going for stylized realism, that would still be the case. I really wouldn't use much with the heavy outlines. Now, the exception to that would be like when I do stuff that is more impressionistic, then I'll use some heavier bold outlines, but then they're really like obvious heavy bold outlines, not a thin line. So that gets to be a bit different too. And I know you wanted this stylized look. One thing you may want to do for her hair too is some of the little curls at the ends of her hair, you could even exaggerate those more with the curls, and that would give you even more of that stylized look. Moving on to the butterflies, I do like the colors that you've chosen. These are great, but again, because she's so pale, they stand out too much. If she had more color in her skin, I think that the whole piece would flow together a lot better. The other thing with the butterflies is you've only used 2 positions. You've got 4 butterflies, and each position is used twice. When you do butterflies, you really want to get more variation in there. Use 4 different positions, different angles. I see that you've mirrored them, but it's still pretty obvious that you're using the same outlines. And I see this a lot with fish, especially people who are new to doing marine paintings. They'll do fish and they are always the side view, like a whole school of fish, and it will all be the side of the fish. None of the fish will be angling at you or curved at all. And it gives it a very stiff, very unnatural feel. With butterflies and fish, it's a good idea. Get them angled. Get a whole bunch of different angles in there. It just gives you so much more movement in your piece and makes it look more natural if you do that. The other thing on this, just like using people who are painting fish that are real flat, it looks weird. With butterflies, you really want to avoid where they're completely like just flat at you like this. Very rarely are you going to see a butterfly flying or in nature where you're seeing the wings out flat. Do a Google search for butterflies. Notice all the different wing positions. The only times that butterflies are really seen that flat is usually when they're I'm gonna say this nicely, usually when they're dead. When they're alive, their wings are usually not fanned out so flat. But definitely do that Google search, check out some of the different positions that you can draw them in. It'll make a big difference in giving your piece the movement and a more natural feel. I like the colors that you've chosen here. I do like that they're bright and bold. I just think that if you got her skin tones darkened up a lot, I'm not saying make her look like she's more tanned. She just has very, very little shading and she needs those shadows, which will balance everything out much better. Another thing, a lot of people, everyone's afraid that they're gonna ruin the piece. They don't wanna go darker, they don't wanna get too much contrast because they're afraid they're gonna ruin it. Worst case scenario, you ruin it. You probably weren't going to sell it, and I don't mean to say this like it's mean, but chances are you weren't going to sell it in the first place. This is practice. This is a learning process, and we have to make these mistakes, and if nothing else, just learn what not to do in order to get to the point where our style is where we really want it. It's worth taking that risk. Like, even if you do go ahead and darken up the shadows on her face, and you think, oh my gosh, this looks absolutely terrible, you learned. It was still beneficial. It's way more beneficial than leaving it as it is and just not being happy with it. Make the adjustment, see if you like it. If you don't, do the same thing again. It may take you 20 drawings, 50 drawings to get the skin tone and learn how to do the shadows and be comfortable in getting that contrast where you like it, but it's worth it in the end. It could be 50 drawings that you think are terrible, but that will get you to the point where your finished product is something more along the lines of what you really want your work to look like. The thing that I really like about this is I can see you've got the drawing skill. Like, you're going to be really, really good if you keep with this. The hair alone, I can tell that you've got a nice feel for the movement and all of that. So I think you're going to be really, really good. And I'd like to see you try this again, like maybe 3 or 4 or 5 times and see what it ends up looking like as you get to the 3rd or 4th or 5th time. I think you're going to see a huge improvement as you keep doing this style. Thank you so much, Emma, for submitting this. Like I said, I'm really excited to see what you end up doing in 6 months from now or a year from now. I have a feeling you're going to be really good. For any of you guys who would like to submit one of your original paintings or drawings for critique, head over to my website, lachri.com/critiques, link below in the video description, and you can submit your work there. I have new video critiques every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Central Time, my own speed paintings and drawings every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central Time, and now vlogs most weekends. So make sure you subscribe and follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, Tumblr, all those fun social media sites, links below in the video description to keep up with news and my newest work. Don't forget to head back tomorrow where I will be painting the surreal landscape. I'll see you guys tomorrow.